Hi, good day, everyone. We're back to our channel again and to look into uh, practice assessment for the new management accounting techniques module for AAT level 3 qualification, or you call that now diploma in accounting level 3. And this exam is one of the new ones they introduced this year compared to the previous years, where they used to have it as a standalone practice assessment, which is called, for example, as a MMAC unit. It's called Management Accounting Costing. That was in AQ 2016, but now it's been moved to AQ 2022 as a Management Accounting Techniques. In this exam, it's a different format. You have, according to this, if you notice that here, they have exam time of 2.5 hours where you do 6 tasks, but 4 of them will be calculation-based questions, and 2 you will be doing spreadsheet whilst you're on the exam screen. So what we're going to do today, we're going to do this in 2 parts. The first 4 questions I'll do in one part, and the second part will be just for Excel side of it. We'll be doing it as a separate video part, because that way you will reduce the overall length of the video, and probably you can target where you want to see how you're going to get the exams done. So yeah, let's crack on with it. You know the rules, so how we're going to work with this, and let's see how I'm going to be approaching this kind of exam. Okay, but at the moment I'm using multiple devices because I'm doing spreadsheet. I normally record everything on my laptop, so this time I cannot do that because of the resolution is a bit smaller. Normally, when you're doing the exams in the exam center, you'll have a bigger screen computer. Unfortunately, I'm mostly doing with the laptop, so I'm connected this device to my PC at home. So I'll be doing the exams in my PC screen here, which is part a setup with my TV also. So therefore, it's kind of a long story short. I will be doing two screens. One of them will be recording, and another one will be for doing the exam. But you can still see what I'm going to be doing here. Okay. So now let's start with this. Let's look at that first question here now. Where are we? Yeah. So let's press continue to start with the assessment. Okay, so first part they're asking you here, this task is about costing techniques, and the costing techniques means it's basically about part A and B. Identify which two of the following statements describe the purposes of costing. So now what we're going to look at now, uh, why we do costing. So here, first part is producing financial statements for shareholders. Straight away, you're looking at financial statement that will become a financial accounting, nothing to do with management accounting. So therefore, this could be ignored as a part of the purpose of costing. But if you look at the next one, financial plannings, but for the future of the business. So that is straight away management accounting. So it's all related to costing there. So that could be one of the answers. So I'm going to just go there quickly and tick one of that one. The next one is controlling the amount of expenditure incurred by the business. So that means it's a really good cost controlling method for the business to decide how much expense they want to absorb or incur in the future. So therefore, it's a really good option for that one. But let's look at the last one also. Performing reconciliation to confirm the accuracy and existence of assets. This is nothing to do with that one. This is done by your non-current asset register. So therefore, these are the two possibly the right answers. Now let's look at the next one here. Identify whether the following statements are following statements about budgeting are true or false. So if you look at that now, part one of it, true or false, budget is a financial plan which is prepared in advance. Yeah, because we have something already done and we're going to work with that constraints going to given to us. So therefore, that statement is true. But if you look at the next one, the word, the budget, a budget always covers a time period of 12 months. So straight away, that is not going to be right. Why? Because they say always. So therefore, putting a restriction to the budgets you may have. You may have budgets for different periods. You can have a weekly budget, monthly budget, quarterly budget, yearly budget, biannual budget, or you may have rolling budgets. So it depends on how you have a budget. It's not always going to be 12 months. It can be for various times. Now, if you go look at the next one here, there are some scenarios they're going to talk about. A hotel offers a range of products and services to guests. So if you look at that here, identify the most appropriate costing methods for each of the following products and services offered by the hotel. So if you look at that now, you're straight away looking at, oh, what are these are meant? First one, if you're going to look at the answers here straight away, there are three options. You have a job costing, service costing, and unit costing. So if you look at that here, a bespoke wedding service, it's straight away, it's going to be special. It's not something they do every time standalone. So this is particularly for that particular customer needs. Therefore, it has to be one job. It will not be a unit or service costing because it depends on different parts of services they can offer there. Different types of foods, different types of drinks, different types of services, different decorations, gifts, limo service, or everything like that. It can be all inclusive in there, but it's specifically for that particular wedding service. So a bespoke one means it is basically catered for that particular demand. So there we will call that as a job costing. So if you look at the next one, standard cream teas. So therefore, this one, it's going to be, I can identify cost as one item. It's a unit costing for that one. And a room hire, on the other hand, it's going to be a service because the room, you don't sell it, you hire it. Therefore, you're providing them a service. So the answer going to be for that as a service costing. Now, let's look at the next question. Deborah's um, is a clothing manufacturer specializing in the designer jackets. In current production is a batch of 800 daisy jackets. I don't know what is the daisy jacket means. The cost of the batch has been estimated as follows. So you have been given the material cost there. They have said the designer cloth 1,200 meters at £6.50 per meter. Lining is 10,000 meter at £2.70 per meter. And then you also given direct labor cost there. They're also saying overtime it's going to be classed as a direct cost. So you don't have to worry about how to split them into a premium, but you need to still calculate the overtime altogether. To produce the batch, it will require 600 basic hours and 100 hours of overtime. Sewers are outsourced by the Deborah's Limited are paid £23 per jacket. So we need to find out how much is the overall cost of it by doing this statement underneath here. Okay, so we have to find the total estimated absorption cost per batch. So when it says absorption cost, we also have to remember absorption cost is a cost by their behavior. So therefore, everything we're going to look at, not behavior, it's by function. So all your production cost will be going in your absorption costing. When it comes to marginal costing is just all your variable cost. But when it comes to absorption cost is you're going to add all your variable costs together with any fixed production cost. If you have non-production cost, it will not be included in there. Only the fixed production cost will go together with your marginal cost to give you the total absorption cost. So let's see here for the information we have, see whether we can split the screen here. Yes, you can split the screen to find the additional information. If you notice now the way I've done it, I have clicked on the reference and I clicked on that information they ask you here. So if you click on it here back, it tells you task 1 part B. So we're going to find that information and we're going to put that down here straight away. So let me get my calculator out on this phone because I don't find my calculator because somebody raided my the actual tools of trade, which I may call, probably one of my child or children. Let's see here. Now, the cost of your designer cloths is going to be 1,200 meters multiplied by £6.50 per meter. So that is getting to 7,800 pounds. And then you have the lining, which is easy, 2,700, because you just have to multiply by 1,000, which is the easiest. So gives you the total direct material cost that. But now we're going to look at the direct labor cost. Since the overtime is also part of it, we have to calculate what is your basic hours. That is 6,000 pounds for them, because 10 multiplied by 600 is going to be 6,000. And then also 100 hours of overtime, which is going to be a time and a half addition there. Therefore, it's 15 pound an hour. So it's going to be 1,500. So there will be 6,000 plus 1,500, which is 7,500 for the cost of cutters. Sewers, on the other hand, they get a flat rate 23 pounds per jacket. So I'm going to find the 23 pounds multiplied by 800 jackets, which we have ordered right at the top of here. So that will give you 18,400 as my sewers cost. So you have your direct material cost and your direct labor cost is going to be 10,500 and 25,900. Then also they said here, variable production overhead is 8 pounds per direct labor hour. So for now, we need to find out what is my direct labor hours altogether. So if you look at that here, 600 basic hours plus 100 overtime, because they have said that here overtime will be classed as a direct cost. Therefore, 700 multiplied by 8. So I'm going to find 700 multiplied by 8, which will give you 5,600 pounds as my variable production overhead. So you need to make sure this OAR, this is the overhead absorption rate per direct labor hour. We multiply by the total hours there. So everything now added together, you should get the total estimated absorption cost per batches. So if you look at that now, the amount is 10,500 plus 25,900 plus 5,600 plus 18,000 fixed production overheads. So therefore, all of that cost together will give you a grand total of 60,000 pound. Okay, so that is 7-mark question there. Not bad. Now they also ask you after this, it's going to be identify the correct journal entries for transferring the cost of direct labor to for for the cutters to the production of the batch. So if you look at that here, you also remember every time an expense comes up, the expense will be always a debit entry. You always know it's going to be a debit entry. So whatever it is we're going to look at here, basic wage and the overtime will be debit entries into your direct cost there. So we're going to look at that here now. But what is the account we normally have? All the expenses credited. It's your wages control account. Remember, all your expense account will be debit wages expense, credit wages control. Then once you've done the wages control, we can allocate whatever expenses to the relevant liabilities after that. That's your level 2, if you remember, right? So if you look at that here, this expenses will be all your direct cost, which is your expenses. And then the total, on the other hand, will be going back as a wages control credit. So if you look at the other options there are indirect costs, because none of them is indirect cost. Why? We are only talking about the wages part, direct labor for the cutters. Therefore, they're all working within the business. If I'm going to talk about, yes, okay, somebody's doing a cleaner or a supervisor in the business, then we can think about it as an indirect cost, but we're not going to bother about that. But at the moment, only thing we need to do, the debit the direct cost here and credit the wages control account. Now they're asking you here, calculate the estimated total prime cost per batch. So here, what is your prime cost? Your prime cost, it should be all your direct labor and your material costs. So here in this scenario, the prime cost is going to be this plus that one. So that will give you 36,400, I think. Yes, 36,400 there. So here the amount is going to be 36,400. They're asking you to calculate the marginal cost per batch. That means that's all your variable costs. That means your prime cost of these two plus this variable overheads, 5,600. And if you're going to add that together, it will give you 42,000 pounds. But I can also think about it. 60,000 minus this fixed production overhead is also 42,000, which is obviously your marginal cost. It's all your variable cost inclusive in there. But then we've done that now. Let's see the next part. Debrax Limited will sell the Daisy jackets for £250 each. Calculate the total revenue Debrax will receive for the batch of Daisy jackets. So it's straightforward. 250 multiplied by 600, and that should give you, oh, hold on, 800, isn't it? Not 600, it's 800. Looking at the number, yeah, that's it. So if I'm going to multiply those two numbers, I'm going to give you £200,000 sales revenue for the batch of these Daisy jackets. Now they're asking you to calculate the estimated profit for each of the Daisy jackets. So for that one, if you want to do two different ways, one, we can look at this total cost, so revenue minus this absorption cost, and divide that by number of units you have produced, because you know the total profit by that time. Your total profit is going to be 200,000 minus 60,000, there will give you 140,000. And once you got that figure there, divide by 800 units which you have sold, and that gives you a good profit of £175 per jacket. That's the daylight robbery, isn't it? Probably they one of those uh, um, like collectible items. I don't know. Or maybe that's what the Daisy jacket is. Probably some of the young generation will know what they actually stands for. I could have checked the Google, but I'm on the exam, so I don't have the luxury of looking into different questions outside the scope of it now. So that is the end of task one. So now let's move on to task number. So let's press answer, and then we'll go on, and then we bring the second question up. The second question now we have at the moment is, this task is about attributing cost. This task contains A to B. Okay. So identify whether the following statements about activity-based costing are true or false. Remember, there are type of costing you have learned: marginal costing, absorption costing. Third one is your ABC costing, activity based costing, because in this scenario it gives emphasis to the activity itself, like the cost drivers. Yeah, those drivers will be the ones setting the cost for individual production there, because if certain production phases will require more work in terms of setting up, with the other, separate activities you need to do for that particular process, that should of course take more of the cost towards it. Then the some processes may require very less. So if I'm going to look at that here, the cost drivers are used to determine the causes of the cost. It's true. When it comes to ABC costing, we're going to look at the cost drivers like number of setups, how many production runs you do, how many items you do in a batch. Those kind of things are your cost drivers. So very careful when it comes to a question like that way. When it comes to activity based, yes, it matters. Now let's look at the next one. Overheads are charged to the production on the basis of a direct labor hour or machine hour. That cannot be. Why? When it comes to activity based costing, these two will not be relevant there. Why? The OAR, it's applied as a standard practice throughout for everything, depending on how many hours they work there. But when it comes to activity-based costing, we have to remember the cost drivers will allow you to find what is the cost per each activities, and then they can be apportioned accordingly. Okay, so here the answer is going to be for this one is going to be false. Now they're asking you the last part two here. Complete the following statements. Under-absorbed overheads are what? They're going to look at it here, debited or credited to your bank account or statement of profit and loss. Probably you can know straight away, absorbing overheads, it doesn't go in your bank account. So you can eliminate that answer and choose your profit and loss statement. But you also have to look at it, whether this is going to be what in my profit and loss statement. So if I under absorb an expense, for example, an overhead, I have absorbed £10,000, but the actual overhead is £9,000. So what we have done now, did we absorb enough? No. In that time is oversubscribed. Therefore, when the real expense is only £9,000 and I have absorbed already £10,000, the difference will go in the credit side of my profit and loss statement, because I haven't lost too much money. Remember that budget and variances you studied in level 2? When your overhead absorbed is higher than the actual overheads, you've done well. You haven't expended as much. Okay, so therefore that'll go on the credit side of my profit and loss statement, gives you some sort of a boost to your profit. But on the other way around, if my actual expense is £11,000 and I have absorbed only 10,000 pounds, I haven't absorbed enough. So that becomes an under absorption. Therefore, the amount I haven't absorbed yet will be going on a debit side of it because I expended more than I have absorbed. Therefore, that should go as an expense, which reduces my profit in my profit and loss statement. So therefore, an under absorption overhead is always debited, and over absorbed overheads will be credited on my statement of profit and loss. So here, Stable Glazing Limited manufactures windows and doors. It has two cost centers, windows and doors, and one service center, which is the administration. So they have given you all this extra information here now. Supervisor salary, receptionist salary, administration salaries, rent and rates, equipment depreciation, and the total overhead. Now, this 221,940 pounds needs to be apportioned using this table. So here, now when we look at that here, these are the extra information they're giving you. Floor area, carrying value of your equipment, use of the receptionist's time, budgeted labor hours, budgeted machine hours. So now we have to decide how we're going to do it. So then again, if you notice that here, the apportion, after all the apportions are done, the administration department has to be reapportioned to the cost centers as follows. Windows take 60% of that overall cost and doors take 40% of that one. Okay, so now let's go into here and see whether I can split the screen quickly. So here I'm going to say part 2B here and just move it a little bit so I can see a little bit of that even better now. Yes, that's not bad. Now, they're asking you here, the administration salaries, how we going to be adding on. So if you look at that here, it's 58,000 pounds. It's already been given here. What is the basis of apportionment? So if you notice that here, administration, the salary for that department, it has to be allocated because it's only those people will have that at the moment now. But what is going to be for your equipment depreciation? So if you notice that here, equipment depreciation, it's only related to the carrying amount of the equipment because you can only depreciate what is left on those non-current assets there. So the equipments are basically your carrying amount, which used to apportion the equipment depreciations. And then we have to find a way we can find those information and fill in those boxes there. So here, the total amount they're asking you here for the receptionist salary. So the receptionist cover 75% for the windows and 25% door. The total receptionist salary is 18,000 pounds. So here, my first information is going to be 18,000 here, but it is already a zero there. That means we cannot do anything here. We just put the apportioned amount here and it will give you a total amount of 18,000 pounds. So what is 75% of 18,000? You just have to get 18,000 pounds in your calculator, multiply by 0.75, it will be 13,500. Now you see it's automatically adding that up. The rest of them is going to be 4,500. Not 45,000, definitely. So it is becoming automatically 18,000 pounds. So that solves that problem. Now let's look at the next one. Also, you see another zero here about the depreciation. Oh, hold on, not the depreciation. This one is for rent and rates. So that is already been told. It's been dominated by this floor area basis. So if you look at that here, the floor area is 240, 150, and 110. If you add all of them together, that will be giving you 500 square meters. So whatever we have now on that cost, which is going to be rent and rates, the amount is going to be calculated per square meter. So 65,000 divide by 500 square meters will give you the rent and rate charge of 130 pounds per meter square. So therefore, once you find that 130 pounds per meter, that's your unit cost for your what do you call rent and rates. You multiply by these numbers to get the amount we're going to be apportioning into these boxes. So here, let's go and look at that here quickly. So I'm going to find out 130 multiplied by 240. That gives me 31,200 pounds. So here, let me put that here, 31,200 pounds. And the next one is 130 multiply by 150, which is the next number, which is 19,500. And the last but the least, 130 multiplied by 110 meters squared, and that gives you the amount for the reception, so the administration area, and that share of your rent and rate is 14,300. Now, if you notice that here, if I add these three, I'm getting 65,000. If I have the same the rent amount here, absolutely fine. Make sure check and double check all your expenses are rightly allocated, so the total cost is matching this 221,940. See that here? That total must match up. But now we've done everything barring one more thing. We have done our basis of apportionment, but we have to reapportion this administration expenses within the other two departments. So I'm going to just get rid of this reference now because I already have a subtotal. This 73,050 pounds now has to be split between windows and doors at a 60% to 40% pro rata. So here 73,050 multiplied by 0.6 will give you for Windows department 43,830. And then this one here, it also have to have 6 multiplied by 0.4. That is going to give me 29,220. But you may ask me, what is the number I have to put here? You need to put a negative 73,050 because there is no amount left over in this department now because it has been reapportioned back into the main two. What is that again? The cost centers. The cost centers are the production cost centers of windows and doors. So now if you look at that here, if you add these two also, you should get that total overheads. Let's prove it. 129,630 plus 92,310. That will give me 221,940, which matches my apportionment, and that should give you the full marks. Okay, so if you look at that here, this question alone itself carries 10 marks here, which is not bad to be honest. Then let's look at this here. Then they have given you the actual results of stable glazings for the year were these. Okay, so now they want you to do first part, calculate the overhead absorption rate for the windows and the doors department using the most appropriate basis to 2 decimal places. So here, if I were you, I'm going to look at this table again. On this table, I'm going to find out for the doors department, which one is the most appropriate. Should I use the budgeted labor hours or budgeted machine hours? Which one I should use? I should use which is more intensive. In this scenario, it is going to be the labor hours, which is highest. So here, to find the OAR, I need to find the total overhead for the department, which is 129,630, divide by the total budgeted labor hours, which is 8,700. So it gives me a value of 14 pounds and 90 pence. 14 pounds and 90 pence there. Absolutely fine. Make sure they want it for 2 decimals. I'm giving them 2 decimals. If I put 14.9 and no zero after that, you lose that mark there. So please ensure you put the decimals. Those decimals are the difference between getting a good scores and not good score at all. Okay, so when they're saying there's a decimal, please use the decimal. If they say use the whole pound, use the whole pound. Okay, so it's very critical you do these kind of small things, but it makes a big impact on your exam. Okay, now let's look at the next one. They want you to find out what is the appropriate method of appropriation basis for the dose department. So if you look at that dose department, it is more machine intensive compared to the labor. So I have to use this figure here. The amount I have now, 92,310, divide this by 5,430, 5430, 5430, that gives you 17 pounds on the dot there. So 17 pounds dot, 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 2 zeros there, and that gives you that overhead absorption rate. Now they want you to calculate whether you have what you have absorbed using those rates for those departments. So enter your answers to the nearest whole pound. So the rate for Windows department is £14.90, and we use the actual labor hours multiplied by the OAR. So here, £14.90 multiplied by actual labor working hours there, that gives you 128,438. Okay, so this is the rate we use, and we multiply by the actual activity. The actual activity is that. When it comes to the dose department, we using the OAR multiplied by the actual machine hours, because that is what we used to our calculation. So here again, 17 pounds multiplied by 5756, that gives you 97,852. So now we have two figures here which we're going to compare with the actual overhead we have already been given on this calculation. So here, this is the amount we absorbed, and this is the actual overheads. So did we absorb enough? No. Why? Because this absorbed expense or your overheads lower than the actual overheads. Therefore, it is going to be an under absorption. So let's put that down here. Windows department is under absorbed. Let's look at the dose department. Look at this absorbed overhead. It's 97,852, but the actual overhead is lower than that. So we have absorbed enough, because 97,000 is definitely more than the 96,000. So we have absorbed enough of overhead to cover this actual expense now. So what we're going to do, we will say this is an over absorption. So, but now they're asking you what is the amount. You just going to find the difference from the highest number to the lowest number. You don't need to do positive or negative here. You just try to put a number, a difference between those two. So here, let's look at the second one, because I already have the number on my screen now on my calculator. So I don't have to go back and delete everything. 1,000 pounds. So 1072 as the over-absorbed figure. The under-absorbed figure is 129,325 minus 128,438, and that gives you 887. Now, I'm not bothering about any decimals here, because they say the answers to be on the nearest pound. So absolutely fine. You should be getting the full marks for this as well. If you follow all those information, we checked everything, 24 marks should be all right in the bag. Now, let's look at the part 3. By the way, guys, please accept my apologies. Haven't been uploading very regularly. I was on 2 weeks holiday because of fasting period. We have to fast for longer day periods now. So I'm basically staying awake very late in the morning or at the night to record this, because obviously talking continuously just dries your throat. It just doesn't bode well if you're recording videos, and you probably lose the voice after about an hour or so. So hopefully I don't lose that way. I'm keeping a little bit of a refreshment next to me. Hopefully I'll record the second MATS units very soon as well, possibly end of this week. I might be able to record that and upload it on YouTube channel for your kind perusal, put it that way. So let's look at task 3 now. Task 3 now, it has this is about short-term decision making. So here now we have to look at the factor of what is the meaning of contribution? How are you going to break even? What is your margin of safety? Those are the things all comes under your short-term decision making. So now first thing is the contribution per unit is what at all level of output. So the contribution, what do you mean by the contribution? It is going to be your revenue minus all your variable cost will be called the contribution. So therefore, the difference, if you look at the sales revenue and your variable cost or sales item for one item and the variable cost for one item, they do not change with any level of production because your variable cost is per unit is fixed. Same as your revenue for one item is also fixed. So you're not going to change different levels unless you changing the actual cost. We're looking at the production. Therefore, revenue and your variable cost will be same per unit at any level. Therefore, contribution will be also same. Contribution will not change. It will not increase per unit basis at any level, but overall contribution will increase. It will increase more and more and more items you produce, same like your profit. Okay. So here, this scenario, it will be same. As the level of output increase, the amount of revenue per unit will what? It will remain same because you're not going to the revenue per unit, it's not going to be changing much there. But what will happen to the total cost per unit? Remember, the cost will be inclusive of your variable and fixed cost. So when you increasing your production, the fixed cost now getting absorbed with many units. Therefore, the total cost per unit will fall. It will decrease. If it decrease with that overall production, your profit per unit will be increasing. If you look at that variable cost doesn't change. So therefore, contribution will not change. But when it comes to the profit, it will keep on increasing more and more you do. Okay. So now let's look at the next part of it. Identify whether the following statements about the behavior of cost are true or false. So here they want to know whether it's okay or right. So let's see the first one. The amount of fixed cost per unit decreases as volume of output increases. So if you notice that now, the amount of fixed cost per unit decreases as the volume of output increases. That's what we explained earlier as well. Because one item, if I say I have 10,000 pounds total fixed cost, when I have one item, the fixed cost towards the unit will be absorbed by one unit. When you have two units, it will split into half. If you have 4 units, it will be split into 25% of all. And if you have 100 units, it will be split evenly 100 pounds for each units there. So therefore, what happens? The cost per unit, it is coming down. So therefore, that is the right statement. Absolutely correct. But let's have a look at this. Next one. A stepped cost is the fixed for a determined level of output. Yes. What is a step fixed cost? Because it will not change for a level and then it will increase and it will stay same for that level. For example, if I have a warehouse which a capacity of storing 10,000 produced goods, it will cost me £1,000 to rent that unit. So when I make the 10,000 unit, my warehouse space is absolutely fine. But when I've made my extra one unit, 10,001 unit, I may have to hire another warehouse because I will not be able to keep more than 10,000 in my current warehouse. So therefore, until that production level reaches 20,000, if I'm saying similar warehouse, the fixed cost now will be increased to £2,000. Why? One warehouse is going to be 1,000, two warehouses is going to be £2,000. So therefore, it remains same depending on the determined level of output. Okay, so that is also true. Now, blendable, yes. It's a funny name though. Yeah, just uh, made me a bit of a tongue twister, kind of a exam style question, which is not bad. Bring on the challenge. Blendable Electronics Limited manufactures a variety of electrical components The following information is available about the cost of product A28. Units at 1,200, it's going to be total 24,860. Then also saying at 1,400 units, the total cost is 26,420. So what now we need to do is to calculate the variable cost and the fixed, total cost for producing 1,500 units. So for this one, we have to bring in our good old spreadsheet. So I'm going to just bring that up on the screen and I'll share that with you in a second. Okay, let me share this differently. Share the windows, share the desktop. Okay, so now I have both this one now. So I'll be able to show you how to do this. And this is called the high-low method. You have done that on level 2 as well. But how many of you remember it every time? So it's good to check a way of doing it. So here, the formula is always going to be the difference between the cost of the higher level and a lower level divide by the difference of units or production at high level and the lower level. So here, high cost minus low cost, and then you're going to divide this figure by high output minus low output. So here, if I'm going to quickly merge it, and I'm going to do this to the same here as well, because I like to do a bit of a spreadsheet while I'm doing this. So it's always going to be something of a good thing here. So here, this is the formula, and that will give you an opportunity to find that. So here, equal to 26,420 minus 24,860. And this is going to be divided by 1,400 minus 1,200. So this is what we're going to do. We're trying to divide that, and that should be giving me equal to that divide by that. So it is £7.80. But what is that? This is what we call the variable cost per unit. So this variable cost per unit is one of those two fixed elements. You can use it for any levels. One of them is this. The next one we're going to find out is the fixed cost. The fixed cost doesn't change for any level. Variable cost per unit also doesn't change for any level. Why? Every time I have to produce one item, I have to spend that material and labor for that one unit. It's going to be always same. If it's identical unit, why you want to spend different amount for the same item? You don't, isn't it? So therefore, this is your first variable. So the first constant, I didn't say variable because even though it's a variable cost per unit, that is a constant figure. So let's find out what is my fixed cost at that level. So here I'm going to use the, what is that again? The lowest level, for example. Okay, so I'm going to find out what is my total cost. Total cost is equal to fixed cost plus variable cost. This is the formula. So here, the total cost is 24,860, and that one is equal to fixed cost, and it should be plus your variable cost. What is your variable cost? It's going to be equal to that number multiplied by production level of 1,200. So this is the amount we have got here. So I'm just going to say equal to this. So I will not miss out on the formula clearly. So here, I'm going to say this plus. So here, this is the amount. This is equal to fixed cost plus the variable cost here. So what is the fixed cost now? The fixed cost will be therefore equal to 24,860 minus 9,360. and that is 15,500. That is the fixed cost at any level. We can prove it by trying the next level as well, because I'm going to use the same formula for the second level, which is 14,000 units. 26,420 equal to fixed cost plus the variable cost. Variable cost is going to be equal to what? This multiply by 7. Hold on. Equal to this multiply by 1,400. Okay, so that is going to be 19,000 so 10,920. So the fixed cost, again, we will prove it, it is correct, is going to be 26,420 minus that figure we calculated, and that's 15,500. See, that two levels of production, which is at 1,200 units, 1,400 units. Both levels, my fixed cost has remained same. Makes sense, isn't it? So this is one of my key factors. So I'm going to just put yellow till here. This is one of those numbers, and this is the next number. With these two numbers, I will be able to find out my cost at any level. So here, the first one, they're asking you to find the variable cost per unit. I'm going to put what? £7.80. I'm going to do in two decimals here, because just for the safe side of it, I will do two decimals. It didn't say what it is, but we'll follow the decimals on this scenario. Next one, calculate the cost of producing 1,500 units of A28. So now what we'll be able to do, we need to calculate the amount of variable cost at 1,500 units. So 1,500 units. The total cost will be, what is your fixed cost? 15,500. Variable cost is going to be what? £7.80 multiplied by 1,500. So if you look on, going to do that here, let me just do this as a formula equal to that amount. So your total cost is going to be equal to this plus this figure, and gives you 27,200. It's a bit of a long-winded I'm showing you here, because I just want to show you what we can do with spreadsheet. We can do so many things with spreadsheet. I could have done it in a piece of paper and just talk about it, but then, you know, when you see the screen, this is the easy way you can do it. All right. So I'm going to bring this to maximize now. So let's work on this. The next question we have, the management accountant at Blenville Electronics Limited has collated data about product Q102. So they have given you a selling price, variable cost per unit, and the total fixed cost, and then also given you a budgeted production level of 2,400. So now what we need to do is to find the margin of safety. To do that, we need to find what is my break even. Without the break even, I will not be able to do a margin of safety. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to bring my good old spreadsheet back up again, so we can calculate this for us. So how I'm going to find the break even point? It is going to be calculated the total fixed cost divided by contribution per unit. So now let's see, what is the contribution per unit? Per unit is equal to 1,000 minus 450 pounds. This is my contribution per unit. So break even point, break even. Okay, so that is going to be your total fixed cost, 88,000. So 880,000 divided by this figure here. So that gives you a break even point of 1,600. To calculate the margin of safety, it's going to be done like this way. The difference between units you have produced, which is what? 2,400 minus 1,600, yeah, and that one it's going to be, hold on, did they say how many units? Oh, yeah, that is your margin of safety. That's all it is. They didn't ask you a percentage. They just want the number of units. So therefore, this minus that will be your margin of safety units. So here, that is going to be 800 units there. But now they also ask you the number of Q102 units that must be sold in order to produce a profit of 220,000. It's a bit of a push there, to be honest. But here, they need to know how many items you need to sell to achieve a profit of that amount. So what is the formula for that one? The formula for that target profit and that one, it is called like this way. We say fixed cost plus target profit divide by contribution per unit. So here, the figure is going to be like this way, 88,000 plus 22,000. And we're going to divide this figure by the contribution 550 per unit. So here, what I will do, I will put a bracket for this one because according to BODMAS, if we don't do the brackets, it will consider the, the last number before the division will be used before the addition will be ever considered in the computers. Therefore, it is important you do a brackets when it comes to formulas. I'm showing that to you because it's going to be helpful when it comes to the spreadsheet part of the exam. Okay, so the amount we got here to achieve a profit of 220,000 pounds, you must sell 2,000 units because that 2,000 units will generate that profit. Now let's look at the next one. The management accountant of Blendable Limited is concerned about product S83. The budgeted data for the manufacture and sale of 1,200 units shows a forecast loss. At 1,800 units, the revenue per unit will decrease by 10% for all units. The variable material cost will decrease by £7 per unit for all units. £7, not 7%, £7. The variable labor cost will decrease by 5% for all units. The fixed cost will increase by £10,000. They now want you to do complete the table to show the forecasted profit and loss for the manufacture and sale of 1,500 units and a 1,800 units. Enter your answers to the nearest whole pound. Enter any loss figures as a negative figure. So now it's a really good question when it comes to it because you're going to flex your budget now. So now this 1,500 units, it's not impacted by all of this change. Only the 1,800 units is going to be impacted. So you have to be very careful. Do not apply all of this change to both levels. This is only for 1,800 units. So 1,500 units, we can simply flex everything apart from the fixed cost. So let's get my calculator out again and find out what is my selling price at 1,200 units. So here 168,000 divided by 1,200, it gives me a selling price of 140. So this 140, we keep that in mind here. Multiply this by 1,500, and that gives you a new sales revenue value of 210,000 pounds. But now, if I know the amount, which is we already got 140, we can do the 1,800 as well. We can do that straight away. So if I'm going to say 140, the price will reduce by 10%. So the per unit value is going to be 140 multiplied by 90%, which give you 126 pounds. That is your sales revenue per unit. So that 126 pounds multiplied by 1,800 new volume, which will give you 226,800 pounds. Okay, so here that is the new volume, new revenue at 1,800 units. But now let's look at the next one. Variable material cost at 1,200. So let's find this out. 44,400, 44,400 divided by 1,200. That gives me per unit cost of 37 pounds. Remember that value. If it's 37 pounds at 1,500 unit, the same at 1,800 units will be 7 pounds less. So it will be 30 pounds per unit. So let's calculate it. 37 multiplied by 1,500. That gives you 55,500. And the next one here, this one is going to be 30 pounds multiplied by 1,800. That gives you 54,000 pounds. But if you notice that here, because of the price decrease, your variable cost, even though your production is increased, that value has come down, because this is the scenario they're telling you. The next one, variable labor cost, it decreased by 5% at that level. But let's find out what is the level for this one. So here 24,000 cost divide by 12,000, and that gives me 20 pounds per unit. Therefore, for 1,500 units, it's going to be 30,000 pounds here. But here, the labor cost is decreased by 5% for all the units. So we already found out it's 20 pounds per unit. And if it's reduced by 5%, we're going to multiply by 95%, which will give you 19 pounds per unit at 1,800 units. So you're going to multiply that by 1,800, it will give you 34,200 pounds now. But then what is the contribution? Contribution is going to be revenue minus these two variable costs. So here, 21,000. So 210,000 multiplied by 55500 minus 300,000, 30,000 there. So that gives you 124,500. Now let's look at the fixed cost. They have said here that fixed cost at this level 1,500 will remain same. They didn't say anything about it's going to be changing. So therefore, I'm going to generate a profit now. This minus 102,000. That gives me a profit of 220. That's 22,500 pounds as my profit. But now let's see this one. 2268 minus 540 minus 342. That will give me a profit figure of 138,600. But now fixed cost in this scenario will increase by 10,000. It's going to be 11,200. It's only changing. You see that here, only these ones are changing. In this scenario, these all flexed. This one remains same, but in this scenario, everything is changed according to the new levels they have given us. But now let's find out what is my new profit. And we're going to take away 1120. That gives me 266,000. Not 266,000, 26,600 as my forecasted profit. Both scenarios are generating profit because we have exceeded the contribution has exceeded the fixed cost. Therefore, it's going to be generating profit for you. That's the end of the task now. Let's move on to the next task. Task number 4. This is before the spreadsheet we're going to do in a minute. Okay. Now, then they're saying a 60-mark question. It's mostly theoretical based. I'm pretty sure about this one because they always stick in one question there, which is going to be more theoretical than practical. So here, this task is about principles of budgeting and cash management. They're saying here, this task contains part A to E. Complete the following statements about budgets. A budget which remains unchanged for a specific period of time is called what? If you say here, it doesn't change at all for any level. So it is a fixed, it's not flexed, it's not a rolling budget. Rolling budget is like Every 3 months, you start a new 12 months budget, or every 6 months, you start a new 12 months budget. So you keep on rolling the number. Operational budget is not that one. It's not a flex budget because it doesn't remain changed because we had to flex it for different period. Fixed budget, it does not change. Now let's look at the next one here. The statement period costs are identified as controllable cost when comparing difference between actual and budgeted figures. I don't think period costs are like that way. Period costs are not controllable cost when comparing difference between actual and budgeted figures. Now, period costs are basically not something as a controllable cost because they are fixed cost for you. So therefore, this will not be a correct statement there. Now let's look at this one here. Identify the two changes below would require the budgets to be changed. So now they're saying here, Mary Dairy Limited is a manufacturer of dairy products. During the budgetary planning process, a number of changes have been identified. Identify which two of the changes below would require the budget to be changed. So they're asking you, what are the scenario here? The first one, the introduction of an environmental charge on level of waste produced. So therefore, if you produce more waste, you will be paying more charge. You do less means less charge. Therefore, the budget has to be changed, of course, because you have to make provisions for this environmental charge because it's not there before. Now it is there, and that we have to make sure we include that in the budget because it's going to affect the performance. Next one, an increase in the living wage. All staff are paid in the excess of this rate. Change it. I don't have to change nothing here. Simple reason, you already are paid in excess. If they are on the living wage and if it's increased, then the budget has to be increased. If already paid above the living wage, I don't need to change my budget because unless there is a pay rise for them negotiated by the employees or the unions, there's no reason I have to alter the budget. The third one, the closure of the major milk supplier and similar alternative can be sourced elsewhere. So if it is even closed, you have similar alternatives available. Alternatives are available. Therefore, I don't need to worry about the cost because it's going to be similar. So it's not going to be an issue for me. The budget should not have to be changed here. But then, of course, an unexpected increase in the rate of inflation, then obviously that's going to impact your cost, impact your revenue, and it's going to impact your budgets therefore. So therefore, that is a really good example for current scenario we are going through. Now here, there is a cash flow monitor they have given you here. The accounting software company of X has been used to predict the cash flow at the end of each of the following 6 months. So they are showing you what is the cash flow from that time to there, and then that time to there, and then what is going to happen to the next month, then next month, and next month, like that way. It just shows you where is that going to end up and what is the new figure here. Okay. At the moment, the current cash flow is 25,000 plus 25,000. Then you have 50,000 cash flow, zero cash flow. That means there's no ins and outs. But then next 3 months, you have a negative cash flow. You got minus 5,000 here, minus 15,000 here, and minus something about a 12,000 or something like that way. Not going to be bothered at the moment. But they're asking here, identify the point which the company X will go into its overdraft. So if I'm going to look at it now, where you think I'm going to be going into my overdraft? If my cash flow is going to be negative, isn't it? So if it's a 0, it's fine. But anywhere before that, so if I'm going to click here, that's fine because that is the time my cash flow is now gone negative. So if it's gone negative, I may have to use my overdraft. But then if you look at the next question here, identify the point which the company X will exceed its overdraft limit. Yeah. And need to raise further capital. So here, the red line says is your overdraft limit. So if your overdraft limit is going to be breached, when that's going to be breached, if you notice that line here, this line is where the overdraft limit is being breached. So if in this case, if your overdraft is gone further than what you have, that means you are in serious debt issue. Therefore, what do you need to do? You may have to raise a new or further capital there. So this is the cash flow forecast for that company X. Therefore, this is going to create a massive problem. So you need to remember, it should not ever fall below this level. Now, next one. Identify one way a business can improve its cash flow in the short term. So if I'm going to look at it now, there are multiple scenarios they're playing out. They're saying extend the credit terms offered to the customer to 60 to 90 days. That's not going to help because they're going to pay you late and late and late. That's going to impact your cash flow. You will not get money in within the business quickly as possible. But look at the next one. Reduce the credit term offered to the customer 60 to 30. That means they expect to pay back quicker. Therefore, you'll receive more cash coming in quickly. So therefore, this is not going to be right. This is definitely going to be right. But let's see the other two answers anyway, because we already eliminated the wrong answer and found the right answer, but it could be something hidden in there. Let's see whether anything matches our narrative. Offer credit to existing customer who pay by cash terms. You're basically shooting yourself on the foot there, isn't it? Because somebody's paying cash, you let them pay the cash. Yeah, just take that money. You're not going to give credit there. Okay, that's not going to help the cash flow. And then the last one, increase the credit limit of existing customers is going to do the same, because they mean they will buy more items on credit and they will not pay on time. Maybe 30 days or 60 days, whatever it is there, they owe you more for a longer period. Next one. Identify which one of the followings will have a negative impact on the cash flow of a business in the short term. So if I'm going to look at it here on a cash flow of a business in a short term. So now let's look at this. Delaying all supply payments for 2 weeks. Of course, it's not going to have a negative impact. It will show keeps more money in your business. It will improve your cash flow. This is not a negative impact at the moment. But then let's look at this one. Paying all suppliers as soon as the invoices are received and regardless of agreed terms. So you have 30 days credit limit and you receive the invoice and you pay that straight away. Doesn't help your cash flow. So that is probably the right answer, because it will have a negative impact. But look at the next one here. Negotiating extended credit terms with suppliers, that will improve your cash flow because you don't have to pay them quicker as they expect you. You'll have a longer credit period. Therefore, in that case, it will have a positive impact. Now let's look at the last one here. Penny Troubles Limited is a manufacturer of toys. The owner of the business are reviewing the working capital cycle of the business for the year ended on 30th of November 2025 or 2015. Extract from the financial statements contain the following information. You have revenue, cost of sales, trade payables, trade receivables, and they also want you to now complete the following tables below for the Penny Trouble Limited to show the working capital cycle for the year ended on 30th of November 2015. The answers to the nearest whole day and as the positive figures. Okay, so they want you to get those numbers now, and then of course you're going to find the working capital cycle with this information given to you. So I'm going to bring my good old spreadsheet into action again. So let's look at that, how I'm going to find that. So here, the receivable collection day, it's going to be calculated as your trade receivable. So it's going to be trade receivable divide by revenue, multiply by 365. This is how the trade receivable collection period. So I'm going to say TRCP is equal to this one. Okay, so here the number I have now is going to be like this way. 289868 divide by 2,185,900 multiply by 365, and then I have at the moment 48 days. Okay, so they want you to do the nearest whole day. The nearest whole day is 48 days. So let's put that here, 48 days. Now let's look at the next one. The trade payable payment period, TPPP, is going to be calculated almost the same way. It's going to be trade payables divided by cost of sales multiplied by 365. So in this scenario, it's going to be calculated 26256 divide by 1525650 multiply by 365, and that gives you 69.44. The nearest one is 69 days. And what is that going to be for your inventory holding period? The inventory holding period in this scenario, it's going to be the inventory divided by the revenue, I think. Yeah, let's see. It's going to be inventory holding period. Yeah. It's going to be calculated as inventory divided by revenue. The cost of sales. I couldn't exactly remember, but let me find out anyway. Let me just work that out and I'll probably have an answer there. Let me do cost of sales because it's with the cost of sales. Inventory is involved with the cost of sales. Therefore, multiply by 365. It's not revenue. Let me check anyway. Invoice, inventory 293 divide by 1525650 multiply by 365, that gives you 40 points. Yeah, that is the right way. Yeah, because otherwise the date is going to be so higher, it wouldn't be possible. Because inventory valued at the cost of sales, not the revenue value. Okay, so here the dates are going to be 40 days. And how you calculate the working capital cycle? Working capital cycle, WCC, is calculated this way. It's going to be your TPP, so TRCP means trade receivable collection period plus your inventory hold period minus your trade payables payment period. So therefore, it's going to be uh, that's how it should be. So it's going to be equal to 48 plus 40 minus 69. That give you 19 days, which is a not bad of a cycle. Because in a year, if you want to calculate how many cycles you may have, is equal to 365 divided by that figure, it will be about 19 cycles you can have in a year. More cycles you have on your working capital means you have a better cash flow. Why? If you notice that here also, look at that here, your payable period times is more than 2 months. Even though your customer pays you within 48 days, that is what, 7 weeks. You don't pay your customers until suppliers until 10 weeks. So therefore, you hold more cash with yourself than what you're paying, receiving from your customers. That helps you the rotation of your cash. Okay, so therefore you have a very short working capital cycle, which is really good. And then you'll be able to have more and more and more. That means you'll be able to manage your cash more effectively. So yeah, we've done all of that now, guys. What I'm going to do, I'm going to answer this, and then I'm going to show you how the spreadsheet will come up in a minute, because the spreadsheet's now just popped up here for that question. But I'm not going to do this question now. I'm going to submit this and to see how I performed, because in case we'll do on the part two when it comes to spreadsheet, because I want to keep it separately because I don't want to prolong the video for too long. So here, now let's press the submit assessment. Hold on, let me answer it and answer it, and I'll be able to submit the assessment, I think. Yeah, let's answer it. Yes, now I can submit the assessment, and let's see what I'm getting now. Nope. So here, the results are out. Oh, I managed to get exceeded for the first 4 tasks. I did get everything right. Yes, by the look of it. So these two, when you're going to do in the exam, these 4 questions are computer marked. The spreadsheets will be done by the human markers. So therefore, your results will not be out instantaneously like your FAPS module now. So guys, make sure you have plenty of time when you've done this, and then you have these 2 questions to do at last, and then just keep yourself a little bit extra time for that, especially with spreadsheet. If there's any problems, you'll be able to solve them straight away as well. So guys, that should conclude the part 1. I will give the link for part 2 just on the same video below. But if you can, click on the likes button and click on the subscribe button. If you like this video, please pass this information to others. Then, of course, I appreciate your time looking into our videos. And thank you again, guys. And I'll see you again very, very soon. So let me just quickly stop the sharing here. Let me go back to the video here on my laptop where I'm recording it. Yeah. Thank you for this, and I appreciate your patience with me. And then, of course, please look forward to my second video for MATS units, and it will be 2-part as well. First of them is going to be the first 4 questions, and the second part will be with spreadsheets. And I wish you all the best, guys, and take care, and see you again soon. And let me get rid of this recording bit there. So that's fine. Thank you. Take care. Bye.